Now, if you had one really important life lesson that you've got out of all of this, what would that be? What would be the, biggest thing that you've taken away from this journey of going on such a astonishing ride, but also, I'm sure plenty of personal development has occurred throughout the journey too, with the training and all the challenges you guys have put yourselves through?
Like, I guess it's just for me personally, believing more in myself. I had, I still do have that good mentality, knowing that if I put in the work that I can achieve. Maybe before we starting the project, I had a lot of self-doubt, and kind of looked at myself with a lot of negativity. But going into that ride and putting in the determination and getting over the line now, I know that it's just, a matter of hard work and self-belief, you can kind of achieve your goals.
And how have you found your feet now, Jay? I guess we discussed before a lot about, the battles you've been through personally, but now at this stage in your life, how have you, going through the ride now and coming out of that, how have you changed as a person, and what are things for you like now?
Look, even before the ride, when my three friends passed away, I started talking about it, talking about my own mental health struggles more, which I never really spoke about that. So I'm not saying like I'm a mental health ambassador or anything, but just talking openly about my own depression, so that has massively helped me, and helped me evolve into kind of a better person, a more confident person, speaking about my own mental health. And then realizing, whilst on the road as well, we met so many people where, like right around Australia, where they were talking about them losing a loved one or their own mental health struggles in the most strange places in Australia. We were at roadhouses in the middle of nowhere, there's barely any people, and we'd bump into somebody and tell them what we're doing, and then they would have a story about how they've lost a loved one or how they have their own mental health struggle. So me realizing that so many other people are struggling as well, made me feel like a little bit better, that I can kind of talk and openly talk about my situation and what's gone on through my life, and hopefully help others as well. And I'm hoping, with a bike ride and people seeing what we've done, the money that we've raised is obviously going to hopefully do some good, but also potentially inspiring people to take on their own challenge as well, and maybe they can find their own mental strength doing their first 5K run, or a marathon, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, like I think it's just been, and also advocacy, raising funds, building mental resilience. It's been an incredible journey. One thing I want to discuss before we wrap things up is kind of did you guys use any applications or anything on your phone, with your training and nutrition and that kind of thing, or even with your, mental well-being, mindfulness? Was there any specific applications you used? Was there any specific podcasts you gain a lot from that, people might be able to utilize themselves?
I mean, look, I use Strava. That was the first time I used Strava, and I just tracked my training, tracked both our training to sort of, just so we know what we're hitting and where we're sort of sitting at in terms of how far along we're sort of getting. Other than that, I don't think there was anything. Oh, we did use Polar Beat, which is a heart rate monitor, that sort of made sure that we were keeping within our heart rate zones that we were training toward. Apart from that, not really. In terms of podcasts, as I say, like we listen to things, different people doing different challenges and trying to gain inspiration and motivation from those sort of people, and you find the people who you relate to more, and they generally help you. As I say, Dean Stott was a huge inspiration for us for this ride, and he helped us with during the ride he actually was in contact with us somewhat regularly to help us on with that, which was great. And it was really good to have that sort of person who's already accomplished some great things, have them in our corner, so to speak.
Yeah, and Jay, what about yourself? Anything that you utilized?
Yeah, look, we reached out to a few cyclists in the ultra cycling world. I guess we were a little bit like, oh, are we doing the right thing? We were kind of second guessing ourselves. So we reached out to a lot of cyclists, and we had a couple of Zoom calls and conversations with a few people, and took information from them. They're not coaches, none of them were coaches, so we couldn't get a training plan necessarily. We made up our own training plan, but we took little bits of information, and those were like, looking back now, they were so like helpful. There was one guy who was just saying, just down to a simple thing of chamois cream, not using chamois cream during your training, using the chamois cream when you're just on the road, and just little things like that. He had achieved some crazy events, crazy goals, where he'd cycled for 24 hours and broke records. He'd cycled across Africa and done all these amazing challenges. And then I think we said what we were going to do, and he was just like, yeah, it'll be all right. You'll be fine, sort of thing. And just even just hearing something like that from somebody of that kind of status is like, it helped us a lot. Regarding podcasts, I don't know if I really listened to a lot of podcasts, if I'm honest. Maybe a Goggins book. I remember listening to Goggins' audio book whilst on the bike, having my aircon turned up to maxed out. But yeah, not really any podcast, so to speak. I think Ross Edgerly is a big inspiration as well for me, and he was actually taking on a huge challenge whilst we're on the road as well. I think he was, what was he doing? Some Loch Ness.
In Loch Ness for just he was trying to break the world record for the longest open water swim. I think he got something like 54 hours in, or something like that, 80 kilometers of swimming in. Just, yeah, whilst we were on the road, we were following this journey along. So just following things like that and seeing other people do incredible things as well, just it helps with the motivation, and also helps taking your mind off things as you're on the road.
Almost living vicariously through his experiences, sort of.
Yeah, that's
it. You up for your own journey.
Yeah. There's an awful lot of nothing to see as you're on the road. There's a lot of sort of time in your own head, and so having those different sort of things to think about, or even just to talk about and discuss, is really helpful. Really helpful when you're trying not to think about nothing.